Look at your hands right now. If they still button a shirt without shaking, you're rare. Past 75, 6 small habits separate the strong from the fading. Most folks lost them by 70. You haven't. Stay with me. I'll show you why. I know who you are. You're 76, maybe 82. You woke up this morning and something in your body told you to search for this. Maybe it was a small ache, a breath that felt shallow, a name that took a second longer to remember. And here's the thing. You came looking for answers, not pity. I'm Dr. William, with 20 years in family medicine, and I'm tired of the script most of my colleagues read to patients your age. You're doing fine for your age. That phrase, for your age, is doing real damage. It tells you to lower the bar, to accept less, to stop trying. But here's what 20 years of practice taught me. The patients I've watched stay sharp, strong, and on their own 2 feet into their late 80s didn't do anything dramatic. No expensive supplements, no exotic diets. They held on to 6 quiet habits. 6, that's it. And most people their age quietly let those habits slip somewhere between 65 and 72. They didn't notice it happening. Their families didn't notice, but the slip happened and the body kept score. Here's the dangerous part. Losing these habits doesn't feel like anything at first. There's no alarm, no flashing light. It's just a slow drift. And by the time someone notices, the drift has become a fall, sometimes literally. Before I show you the 6, do me one favor. Drop your age in the comments below and the state you're watching from. Florida, Ohio, Arizona, wherever you are. I read every single comment, and I shape future videos around who's actually watching. Your story matters here. Now, let me give you the number that started all of this for me. A research team at Johns Hopkins, tracking adults between 75 and 85 over more than a decade, found that only about 12% maintained 4 or more of these specific daily habits. 12 out of every 100. The other 88? They had quietly given up at least 3 of them. And here's what nobody told them. Those 12% were 61% less likely to suffer what researchers call accelerated functional decline. Let me say that in plain English. They were 61% less likely to lose their independence in a sudden, fast slide. They kept driving. They kept cooking. They kept laughing at their grandkids' jokes without missing the punchline. So why does the body let these habits slip? Why doesn't it fight to keep them? The answer is something doctors call cognitive and physical reserve. Think of it like a savings account. Every habit you keep, every walk, every conversation, every glass of water, every new word you learn is a deposit into that account. And every day you skip them, the body makes a small withdrawal. Now here's the cruel math. Below age 65, the body refills the account on its own. It's generous, forgiving. Above 75, it stops refilling. It just spends. And if your daily habits aren't depositing fresh value, the balance drops fast. Most people don't see the balance dropping. They just notice one Tuesday that the stairs feel steeper, that a sentence trails off mid-thought, that a friend they used to call every week, they haven't called in 2 months. Picture this for me. A woman I'll call Eleanor, 79, living alone in the small house outside Charleston. A garden out back, photos of grandkids on the fridge. She came in last spring because her daughter said she'd lost her spark. Eleanor didn't think anything was wrong. She still made her own breakfast, still watched her shows, still went to church on Sundays. But when I looked closer, I saw the slip. She'd stopped lifting anything heavier than a coffee mug. She drank maybe 2 glasses of water a day. Her last real conversation, one with back and forth, with laughter, had been 10 days earlier. She'd stopped reading the novels she used to love because, in her words, my mind feels too tired to follow them. That's not aging. That's reserve depletion, and it's reversible. We'll come back to Eleanor at the end. You'll want to hear what happened. If you've ever felt that quiet slip, the kind nobody warns you about, this channel was built for you. I'm a general physician. I spent 2 decades watching the system run out of time for patients in their 70s and 80s. A 15-minute appointment can't cover this, so I made it my job to give you what the appointment can't. Every week, real science, plain English, no fear selling, no supplements to push. If that sounds like your kind of doctor, hit subscribe and turn the bell on. We're a small community of people who refuse to fade quietly. Glad you're here. We're going to count down from 6 to 1. The one at the top will surprise you. Even after 20 years of practice, it surprised me. So let's start. Habit number 6. You still drink water before you drink anything else. Here's where I have to be honest with you. For most of my early career, I told patients to drink enough water. Useless advice. Past 75, your body lies to you about thirst. Your kidneys lose about 40% of their filtering power. Your thirst signal, the one that used to wake you up dry-mouthed at 3 o'clock in the morning, goes quiet. You can be genuinely dehydrated and feel nothing at all. And dehydration at your age isn't a small thing. It causes dizziness when you stand. It dulls memory. It raises your risk of falling sharply. One European study of 3,500 adults over 70 found that those who drank water consistently throughout the day reduced their urinary tract infections by 38% and significantly lowered their risk of falls. Here's what the healthiest older adults do differently. They drink 12 to 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning, before coffee, before breakfast, before the news. Why? Because overnight, your body loses more fluid than you think. Breathing alone takes about a cup of water out of you while you sleep. After 75, that overnight loss is about 30% higher than it was at age 50. Here's the synergy tip. Add a tiny pinch of sea salt to that first glass, not table salt, just a small pinch of real sea salt or a quarter of an electrolyte tablet. Without a little sodium, plain water passes through your kidneys without ever reaching the cells that need it. That's why some people drink water all day and still feel parched. Tonight, put a glass of water by your bed. Tomorrow morning, drink it before your feet hit the floor. This week, notice how your afternoon brain fog begins to soften. Habit number 5. You still push against resistance twice a week. I'm not asking you to join a gym. I'm not asking you to lift heavy weights. I'm asking you to make your muscles work against something. A resistance band, a soup can, or a wall push-up at least twice a week. Here's why this matters more after 75 than at any other age in your life. Your muscle cells develop something called anabolic resistance. In plain English, your muscles become harder to stimulate. They still respond, but only if you knock louder. And if you don't knock at all, they quietly shrink. After age 60, you lose about 1% to 2% of muscle mass per year, and the process speeds up after 75. That muscle loss has a name, sarcopenia. It's linked to a 47% higher risk of falling and a 53% greater chance of losing the ability to perform basic daily activities, like standing up from a low chair, within 5 years. A study from Tufts University followed adults between 75 and 85 who performed resistance training twice a week. After just 10 weeks, their leg strength increased by 37%. Their balance improved significantly. Here's a synergy tip. Within 30 minutes after your resistance workout, eat about 25 grams of protein, a couple of eggs, a piece of fish, or a serving of cottage cheese. Your muscles are listening most closely during that window. Ask your doctor before starting if you have a heart condition, severe arthritis, or have recently had surgery. But for most of you watching, the green light is already on. Habit number 4. You still sleep on the same schedule as the sun. Sleep at your age isn't about getting 8 hours. It's about consistency. Your internal clock, the one that ran like a Swiss watch in your 40s, has become less precise. After 75, your brain produces about 70% less melatonin than it did at age 30. Your deep sleep stage, the one responsible for repairing your body, can decline by as much as 80%. And poor sleep at your age isn't just about feeling tired. Researchers at Berkeley found that adults over 70 with disrupted sleep had a 68% higher buildup of brain plaques associated with memory loss. 68%. That's not a small risk. The healthiest people in their 80s go to bed within the same 30-minute window every night. They wake up at the same time every morning, even on Saturdays. They keep their bedroom cool, between 65 degrees Fahrenheit and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Cooler bedrooms promote deeper sleep because the aging body has a harder time lowering its core temperature. They also put away screens 1 hour before bedtime, not just because of blue light, but because the mental stimulation keeps the front part of the brain active when it should be winding down. Here's a synergy tip. Spend 10 minutes practicing slow belly breathing before bed. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. Breathe out through your mouth for 6 counts. This simple exercise can reduce your stress hormone levels by about 22% and help unlock the deep sleep your brain has been craving. Habit number 3. You still eat protein at every meal like it matters. This is the habit that frustrates me most as a doctor. For decades, older adults were told they needed less protein. The opposite is true. Because of the anabolic resistance I mentioned earlier, your body actually needs 50% to 75% more protein per pound of body weight than a healthy 30-year-old to maintain the same amount of muscle. Most people your age eat only half of what they need. Toast for breakfast, soup for lunch, a small piece of chicken for dinner. That's not enough, not even close. Picture your body as a brick wall. Every night while you sleep, old, damaged bricks are removed. New ones are supposed to replace them. Protein is the brick. Without enough bricks, the wall becomes thinner month after month, year after year, until one fall, one infection, and suddenly the wall can no longer stand. Here's the target. Aim for about 25 to 35 grams of protein at each of your 3 daily meals. That's roughly a serving of chicken, fish, or eggs about the size of a deck of cards. Greek yogurt counts, cottage cheese counts, beans count. Spread your protein intake throughout the day because after age 75, your muscles can only use about 35 to 40 grams of protein in a single meal. Anything beyond that is more likely to be burned for energy instead of being used to repair muscle. Last year, a 78-year-old patient named James from Scottsdale came to see me because his daughter noticed he had been losing weight. I'm Dr. William, and I've seen this same pattern far too many times. His old doctor called it normal aging. It wasn't. He had lost 18 pounds of muscle, not fat. His grip strength, one of the strongest predictors of how long you'll live, had dropped into the lowest 15% for people his age. After 12 weeks of restructuring his meals, with protein included at every meal, he regained 11 pounds of lean muscle. His grip strength returned to the average range, and he told me with a small grin that he had carried his own groceries from the car for the first time in 2 years. Here's the synergy tip. Pair your protein with a little vitamin C, half an orange, a slice of bell pepper, or a squeeze of lemon. Vitamin C helps your body build the connective tissue that holds your muscles together. Before I show you the top 2 habits, and trust me, habit number 1 will surprise you, I want to hear from you. Type 1 in the comments if morning fatigue is your biggest struggle. Type 2 if dizziness when standing up is your biggest problem. Type 3 if it's that shortness of breath that nobody else seems to take seriously. Just type the number. I'll read every comment and address them in next week's video. Habit number 2, you still talk to another human being every single day. I told you one of the top 2 habits would surprise you. This is it, because it sounds too simple to be medicine, but the research behind it is some of the strongest we have. Researchers at Brigham Young University followed more than 300,000 adults over several decades. Their conclusion? Chronic loneliness carries a risk of death comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes every day. For adults over 75, the National Institute on Aging found that loneliness can accelerate memory decline by as much as 64%. It also increases the risk of dementia by 41%, and it fuels chronic inflammation throughout the bloodstream, damaging both the heart and the nervous system. Here's what's happening beneath the surface. When you have a genuine conversation with back and forth discussion, laughter, or even a friendly disagreement, your brain releases oxytocin. That hormone calms stress, reduces inflammation, and activates the brain regions responsible for memory. When those areas remain inactive for weeks, the brain begins pruning away those neural connections. And here's the part many families don't realize. Simply sitting in the same room while the television is on doesn't count. Watching church services online doesn't count. Your brain needs the exchange, the listening, the responding, the laughing, the conversation. That's the medicine. Dorothy, an 83-year-old from Charleston, lost her husband after 54 years of marriage. 8 months later, her daughter brought her to see me. Her memory tests showed a measurable decline in less than a year. I didn't change a single medication. Instead, I gave her a schedule. 1 book club every week. 1 20-minute phone call every day with a rotating list of friends. 2 afternoons each week volunteering at her local library. 8 months later, her cognitive test scores had returned to baseline. Her inflammation markers had decreased, and her daughter told me she sounds like herself again. Tonight, call 1 person. Don't text, call. Tomorrow, schedule 1 face-to-face visit sometime this week. Here's the synergy tip. Whenever possible, combine your social time with movement. Take a walk with a friend, garden with a neighbor. Doing both together increases production of a brain-supporting chemical called BDNF, essentially fertilizer for your brain cells, more than either activity alone. Habit number 1. You still learn something genuinely new every day. Here it is. The habit that researchers at Johns Hopkins have described as one of the most underused longevity tools we have. Fewer than 12% of adults over 75 practice it every day. And it's probably not what you're thinking. It's not crossword puzzles. It's not passive reading. Both are valuable, but they're maintenance. What I'm talking about is more demanding. Learning something genuinely new every day. A new skill, a new language, a musical instrument, a different style of cooking. Anything that places your brain into a state of productive discomfort. Here's why the difficulty matters. After age 75, your brain naturally prefers using the pathways it already knows. It's trying to conserve energy. But that's exactly what drains your cognitive reserve, the protective buffer that helps you continue functioning as your brain ages. A study from the University of Edinburgh followed more than 1,000 adults from their 70s into their late 80s. Those who spent at least 30 minutes every day learning something new and challenging experienced 47% slower brain shrinkage on brain scans. They were also 38% less likely to be diagnosed with dementia during the following decade. 47%, 38%. Real numbers, real outcomes. Here's what many people misunderstand. Watching someone play guitar on YouTube isn't learning guitar. Sitting down with a guitar and struggling through your first 3 chords, that's learning guitar. The struggle is the medicine. It's the mental equivalent of lifting weights. The challenge has to be difficult enough to force your brain to adapt. That's when new neural pathways are built. Robert, a 79-year-old retired civil engineer from Portland, spent 40 years working and then 3 years doing very little that challenged his mind. He came to see me because names were becoming harder to remember and conversations were becoming more difficult to follow. His brain scans were completely normal, but his cognitive reserve wasn't where I wanted it to be. I gave him one prescription. Choose something you've always wanted to learn and practice it every single day. He chose oil painting. He had never painted before. By his own description, he was terrible. 18 months later, he had completed 23 paintings, joined a local art group, which also gave him habit number 2, and his follow-up cognitive testing showed improvement in 3 out of 5 measured areas. Not maintenance, improvement at 79 years old. Here's the synergy tip. Combine your daily learning with eating fatty fish twice a week, salmon, sardines, mackerel. The DHA in these fish is literally one of the building materials of your brain cell membranes. Without enough DHA, the new neural connections you're trying to build don't remain strong. Before I finish, there's one part I never skip. If any of the following have happened during the last 2 weeks, contact your doctor. Not next month, this week. New shortness of breath while walking from the bedroom to the kitchen. A fall, even a minor one that you brushed off. Suddenly being unable to remember a familiar name. New dizziness when standing. Confusion that wasn't present a month ago. Unexplained weight loss. These aren't simply signs of getting older. They're signals, and signals deserve answers. Tell your doctor exactly this. I want to talk about my cognitive reserve and my muscle mass. Those 2 phrases can completely change the direction of your appointment. Now look at your hands again. If they still button that shirt without shaking, you're already closer to that rare 12%. Water first thing in the morning. A little resistance training, the same bedtime every night. Protein at every meal. One real conversation every day. One genuinely new thing learned every day. Just 6 simple habits, that's all. Remember Eleanor, the woman from Charleston? 12 months later, she was gardening again, reading novels again, laughing again. That isn't simply aging, that's living. I'm Dr. William. If you're ready to take better care of yourself, type the word READY in the comments below, then subscribe. Next week, I'll share the 3 morning warning signs between ages 75 and 85 that doctors often miss during a 15-minute office visit. You won't want to miss it. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice for your specific situation. Always speak with your own physician before making changes to your routine. The patient stories presented here are composite cases with identifying details changed to protect privacy. Portions of this video were produced using AI-assisted tools under my direct medical review. Take good care of yourself. You're worth the effort.